That in 2021, San Francisco issued only 2,000 permits for new homes. Sure, there are people living in the streets, but that's because we want to make sure the apartments they don't live in are perfect. I don't fear AI anymore because it couldn't possibly be any more robotic than the humans who run things now. I heard that California is overtaxed and overregulated. San Francisco, the city's so nice you'll step in poop twice. It's an area where homeless people were urinating and defecating, and it was starting to annoy the people breaking into cars. So the city tried to build a public toilet last year, but then gave up when the cost hit $1.7 million. Not $1.7 million for a public toilet system. $1.7 million for one toilet.
It's finally here. Maher has exposed Gavin Newsom for wrecking California, and I'm genuinely surprised because Maher has been a fanboy of the California governor. In a series of blistering tirades against the state, Maher argued that Newsom's overregulation and crushing taxes are what's drowning California. The critique was sharp, biting, and hilarious. So hit subscribe, buckle up, and let's get going.
This network of regulators, administrators, inspectors, contract reviewers, project managers, fee assessors, special commissioners, zoning officers, and consultants whose jobs seem to be to make sure nothing ever happens and then charge you for it. The people who answer the phone, "Permit office, how may I hinder you?"
Maher takes aim at the California government for its obsession with creating new agencies, offices, and task forces that ultimately get nothing done. Instead of solving real problems, the state keeps adding layers of bureaucracy that slow everything to a crawl. Anyone who actually lives in California can attest to how absurd it has become. Something as simple as fixing a garage door can turn into a bureaucratic nightmare. You're often required to secure 2 or 3 different permits, each involving paperwork, fees, inspections, and endless waiting. What should take a single afternoon can drag on for weeks or even months. That's the frustration Maher is ranting about. His point isn't just about inconvenience, but about a system that seems designed to trip up ordinary people while government offices expand endlessly. The irony, as Maher highlights, is that the more agencies California creates, the less efficient it becomes, leaving residents stuck navigating red tape instead of getting things done.
It feels like San Francisco is actually proud of being impossible. Asked about the toilet, a spokesman for the Department of Public Works said, "We are a city of public input." Okay, but I'm stepping in public output. Meanwhile, the median time to get approval to build a house there is 627 days. That's 217 days longer than it took to build the Empire State Building. You need 87 permits, 15 from the Planning Commission, 26 from the Public Utilities Commission and the Fire Department, 19 from building inspectors, 17 from the Public Works, 10 related to public spaces, and 1 from a guy in a T-shirt that says Federal Boob Inspector.
So you see the absurd maze of permits required just to build a house in San Francisco. What should be a straightforward construction process quickly turns into a bureaucratic endurance test. Before a single brick is laid, builders are forced to navigate layers of approvals, environmental reviews, neighborhood hearings, design boards, and compliance checks. Each permit comes with its own fees, delays, and consultants, all adding up fast. By the time you've cleared the full permitting process, you may have already burned through nearly 80% of your total building budget. That's before construction even begins. Maher highlights this as a core reason housing in San Francisco is outrageously expensive. It's not just supply and demand. It's a system that makes building so costly and time-consuming that only the wealthy can afford to play the game. The end result is fewer homes, higher prices, and a city increasingly out of reach for ordinary people.
15% of workers in America work for the government. That's 24 million people with one shared vision: to fine you if your mailbox is too big. They say a conservative is a liberal who just got mugged, but it could also be a liberal who just got cock-blocked trying to remodel a porch. Oh, yeah. Or got a parking ticket because their car was facing out instead of in. Last year, Wyoming began construction on the largest wind farm in North America that will power 2 million homes in Arizona, Nevada, and California. And to think it only took 18 years. Not to build it, to approve it. 18 backlogged, knuckle-dragging, pencil-pushing, thumb-twaddling, ball-scratching years.
Yep, it took a staggering 18 years just to approve a single project that would have delivered wind power to California from Wyoming. Let that sink in. In an era where politicians constantly preach urgency about climate change, a clean energy project was trapped in regulatory limbo for nearly 2 decades. 18 years of environmental reviews, hearings, revisions, lawsuits, and bureaucratic box-checking before anyone could even break ground. By the time approval finally came through, technology had evolved, costs had ballooned, and the political moment had long passed. This is exactly the contradiction critics like Maher point to. Leaders who talk non-stop about green energy, yet preside over a system that makes building it painfully slow and almost impossible. Instead of accelerating solutions, the regulatory maze strangles them. If it takes 18 years to approve wind power, it's fair to ask whether the system is actually designed to solve problems or just to stall them indefinitely.
There's an area where homeless people were urinating and defecating, and it was starting to annoy the people breaking into cars. So the city tried to build a public toilet last year, but then gave up when the cost hit $1.7 million. Not $1.7 million for a public toilet system, $1.7 million for one toilet. And this wasn't some magic toilet that catches your phone when you drop it. So then a private company took pity on San Francisco and offered to build them their toilet for free. But after, quote, project management, construction management, architecture and engineering fees, permits, civic design review, surveys, contract preparation, and cost estimation, the free toilet was still going to cost almost $1 million.
Maher continues his takedown of Newsom by pointing to the infamous public toilet debacle that unfolded in San Francisco under Newsom's watch. What was supposed to be a simple, practical solution for the city's growing sanitation problem turned into a textbook example of bureaucratic dysfunction. The project racked up nearly $1 million in consulting fees, planning costs, and administrative expenses alone. Architects were hired, committees were formed, and endless reviews were conducted. And after all that spending, Maher asks the most damning question of all: was the toilet ever built? The answer is no. Not a single usable facility to show for it. Maher uses the story to illustrate how progressive governance often burns cash on process rather than results. It's not just wasteful, he argues. It's embarrassing. A city can spend a fortune discussing a toilet, yet fail to deliver.
Estimates that if the red tape could be cut in everything that's currently stuck in the renewable queue, the United States would be 80% zero carbon in 7 years. The enemy to clean air isn't just big oil, it's big permitting. It's not that America isn't able to get anything done, it's that we're not allowed to. Of course, there should be consideration of the environment on everything we build, but as so often happens on the left, they seem to have no ability to recognize when they've taken a concept way too far and are in fact hurting their own cause.
There's bureaucracy in all states, whether blue or red, but blue states like California seem to take it way too far. Take California's treatment of the oil industry, for example. The state has repeatedly piled on new regulations, taxes, and oversight measures that make doing business incredibly costly and uncertain. Governor Newsom even pushed for a windfall profits tax on oil companies to redistribute record industry earnings back to Californians on top of already high compliance costs and fees. According to federal data, California drivers already pay some of the highest gasoline prices in the nation, in part because of strict environmental programs and taxes that can add nearly $1 a gallon. Major refiners like Phillips 66 and Valero have announced closures or considered selling California refineries, citing the regulatory burden. These examples show how red tape and high taxes on oil can discourage investment and shrink domestic energy production in the state.
Come Gulliver, the giant that got tied down with 1,000 tiny ropes by Lilliputians, the horde of little people who do big damage. Build back better, sounds good. So does shovel-ready jobs. Yeah, exactly. As Barack Obama once said, one of the biggest lessons he learned as president was there is no such thing as shovel-ready projects. Environmental impact statements used to be a few pages long. Now they're thousands of pages of legalistic nonsense and take an average of 4.5 years to complete, with thousands of bureaucrats filling out millions of paper forms that kill hundreds of forests to answer the question, is this good for the environment?
Maher tears into Newsom and his fellow blue state governors with one of his sharpest metaphors yet, comparing them to Gulliver tied down by tiny Lilliputians. Individually, each regulation, agency, or rule seems small, harmless, and even well-intentioned, but collectively they become suffocating. Maher's point is that these governors aren't being restrained by one massive policy failure, but by thousands of little ones piling up year after year. Every new board, commission, permit, and compliance rule adds another rope, another knot, another delay. Eventually, even the most powerful state governments can't move. Instead of governing with flexibility and common sense, they become trapped in their own systems, unable to build, fix, or reform anything at a reasonable pace. Maher uses the analogy to highlight how blue states, especially California, have allowed bureaucracy to metastasize into paralysis. The result isn't progress, but stagnation disguised as good intention.
People living in the streets. But that's because we want to make sure the apartments they don't live in are perfect. I don't fear AI anymore because it couldn't possibly be any more robotic than the humans who run things now.
Maher argues that Gavin Newsom and his inner circle are simply incapable of thinking outside the box when it comes to fixing the bureaucracy that's drowning California. Instead of confronting the system head-on, they default to the same tired playbook, create new agencies, add more rules, and promise reforms that never actually simplify anything. Maher's frustration is clear. California doesn't lack ideas or resources. It lacks leaders willing to challenge their own machinery. Every problem is met with another layer of oversight, another task force, another regulation, all of which make the state harder to govern and more expensive to live in. According to Maher, Newsom and his cohorts are trapped in a political bubble where bureaucracy is treated as progress. The result is paralysis. Big issues like housing, energy, and infrastructure remain unsolved, not because solutions don't exist, but because the political will to dismantle the red tape simply isn't there.
Not that there was ever any reason to build it in the first place, and not that there would be any reason to do it again. But just as an exercise in realizing how far we've regressed as the can-do people, I think we should all try to imagine how it will go down if we tried to sculpt Mount Rushmore out of a mountain today. First, we'd have to make the mountain handicap accessible, so we could hire handicapped people to work on the side of a mountain. Then there'd be a 10-year delay while we studied the effect of construction noise on the mating habits of woodchucks. Then another 10 years to obtain ethnically sourced dynamite and find a sculptor who doesn't only work from home. And then another 2 years to apologize for being on Indian land.
Maher mocks Gavin Newsom and his political ilk by joking about what it would cost and how long it would take if America tried to carve Mount Rushmore today. What was once an ambitious engineering feat completed with limited technology would now, Maher argues, be buried under environmental reviews, cultural impact studies, lawsuits, and endless public hearings. The project wouldn't be delayed by granite or gravity, but by paperwork. Costs would explode into the billions before a single face was even outlined. Committees would debate the symbolism, activists would protest the intent, and regulators would stall the process indefinitely. Maher uses the Mount Rushmore example to highlight how modern governance, especially in blue states, has lost the ability to build bold, transformative projects. Instead of asking how to get things done, leaders obsess over process, optics, and compliance. The result is a culture where even imagining something monumental feels impossible, let alone actually achieving
regulations that aren't necessary, that aren't. I mean, you really don't believe that the state we live in, California, is lacking regulation. There's over 300,000 regulations. I mean, Well,
maybe they're needed.
They're not. When I tried to put in a garage door, I had to have 3 inspections. There should have been none. I should be allowed to change my garage door.
Are you kidding? Really? It was about a garage door?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that is...
No, you know this about California.
No, I don't.
Well,
I'm sorry, I don't.
You've never heard that California is overtaxed and overregulated? That we are a one-party state where there's sort of no checks on that sort of extreme leftism.
In the end, Maher's critique of Gavin Newsom and blue state governance cuts deeper than a few jokes or viral sound bites. What he's really exposing is a system that talks endlessly about progress, but consistently fails to deliver results. From absurd permitting processes and runaway bureaucracy to stalled energy projects and million-dollar toilets that never materialize, the pattern is impossible to ignore. California isn't short on money, talent, or ambition. It's drowning in red tape. Maher's frustration reflects what many residents quietly feel, a government more focused on managing process than solving problems. His Mount Rushmore analogy drives the point home. Today's leadership would debate, delay, and overregulate bold ideas into oblivion. Whether Newsom acknowledges it or not, the message is clear. If leaders can't simplify, streamline, and think beyond their own bureaucratic instincts, California's decline won't be a mystery. It will be a self-inflicted wound. And this brings us to the end of today's video. If you enjoyed it, then hit the like button and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.